All right, so thank you for coming and welcome. And tonight we are moving into the hips and being a supine class. Yeah, we tend to get a little bit more deeply into the flexibility of the hips during this class, but we will do some strengthening work as well. So lying down, and you can start with your legs bent or your legs straight, your choice on that. To just settle in. And I always think of this as the hardest part of the class is just getting here, away from running around and doing all the things of our lives. So just grounding. And notice your back, how it feels. Would you prefer to bend your knees or have your legs straight? Just notice that as your first thing. And just listen to your body. So mine's saying bend my knees, so I'm going to do that. And if your knees are bent, you can always angle your knees in so that you can rest. Hands on the belly, we're going to make some big belly breaths. Inhale into the belly. Exhale, draw the belly in. You can do a ha sound with the mouth open to begin. Just keep doing this in your own timing. This Zoom is saying weird things to me again. Keep going with your belly breathing. All right, when you're ready, can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me? Okay, good. All right. So let's move into some humming breath. So inhale into the belly. Exhale, making a humming sound. Now, if you like, as you do this, you can put one hand on your heart as well, and you'll feel that humming move through your whole chest. Inhale. Maybe notice it into your throat as well. And if you like, adding Om. Om. Inhale. Om. Inhale. Om. And when you're ready, you can leave your legs bent or straighten them. We're going to start moving into the physical body with the breath. Inhale, arms coming up to your place. Tucking the chin in at the end of the inhale. Exhale, bringing your hands down by your sides. Pulling up from the pelvic floor to the belly button as the lower back comes into the ground. Inhale, arms coming up. Exhale, arms coming down. Just do this in your own time a few more times. Your legs can be bent or straight. Just notice which one you prefer. You might want to try both. It's different sensation. Now we're going to start moving the legs. Oh, someone's trying to get in. So you can try to do this while I'm letting someone in. So inhale, expand the belly, and then exhale, draw one leg in towards the chest. There you go. Perfect. Inhale, expand, arms overhead, place the foot down or stretch the leg, and exhale, draw the leg in. Good. And if you're doing it with straight legs, you might want to fold your mat over so that you can glide your leg on the floor. So that is an option. So inhale here and exhale, drawing one leg in, pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in, drawing the leg in. Inhale, straighten it out, and you can do this to the bent legs. And exhale, drawing the other leg in. Inhale, lengthen. Now, the more you can drag that heel on the ground, which is why it's nice actually to have a floor to drag on, you'll use your core. And then if you bring your hands down by your sides when you do this, rather than hugging your knee in until the very end, you'll use your core strength more. Inhale. So I'm going to show that. So exhale, drag, 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 arms down by your sides, and then draw the knee in using the core. And if you like, you can hug it at the end for the lower back. So this is working the legs and the feet, as well as the strength of the core. It's going into the hips and lower back, the opposite hips getting a stretch here. And you can point and flex the feet. You can try that as well. Now, if this is feeling easy for you, you can try with both legs, especially when you don't use the hands on the knees. It's quite a bit of work. And this is when, if you did eat only an hour or two ago, you might be regretting it. I apologize if that's the case. Just don't draw the belly in as much if your belly is still full. For nights we have yoga, you might want to try, having a very light meal, more like at 5 o'clock. So just notice how this is strengthening and stretching. And one of Krishnamacharya's students, Srivasta Ramaswamy, he teaches asanas-s, the knees to chest pose. This is how he teaches it, starting from the straight leg position. And again, you can do it with one leg at a time. And just finishing that up. And you can stay with both knees into the chest, or just one knee at a time, and just stay there. So option full apanasana, or you can do ekapada, one leg at a time, and stretch the opposite hip as an option. And if you've got knee problems, you might want to hold underneath the knees. That can feel better. All right, now in this position, since we're here, so this one for the hips, again, I've been playing with doing it without the hands to
make you use the core more. We call that mula in yoga, the mula bandha. So inhale, opening the knees, and then exhale, draw the knees together. The feet are relaxed, so they're not up like Pilates styles, they're down. And then exhale, draw in the knees, and you'll feel yourself zipping up from the pelvic floor up and then open. And this one also should be helpful for incontinence because it's really using the pelvic floor area. It's working with rooting down and also really lubricating those hips. So make sure you're adding the breath, inhale, opening, and then exhale, centering and closing. Try the other direction, inhale away from you and open, and then exhale, draw the knees towards you and close to the center and try to pull up on the pelvic floor as you draw in. You can use the hands as a guide if your hip flexors are getting too involved and it's not comfortable. You're welcome to add those hands. This becomes much more of a core hip exercise. First and second chakra, those energy centers, pelvic floor to the pelvic area below the belly button. Just finishing up. We haven't done that one in a while. Just as a counter, inhale, bringing the legs up to the sky. Exhale, knees to chest. Now you can just do simple knees to chest, hug those knees. Or if you want to make it more strengthening, inhale, extend. And exhale, touch those toes down, hands by your sides. At the end of the exhale, draw the knees into the chest. Inhale up. And exhale, rooting down. And again, the further away the toes are, the harder it is. You can always hug those knees. So the further away you put those toes, doing it on exhale, the lower back is going into the ground. And then you're drawing in with your strength, the core strength. This is all for grounding, getting into those legs and feet before we really get into the hips too much. And just one more time. Just hug those knees and rest. This pose is called apanasana. Apana is the downward flow of energy. So if you folded your mat over, you might want to stretch it out. And we're just going to get into those hips now a little bit more. So just going to start with this internal rotation, arms at the side, any height is comfortable. Inhale, center, exhale, one knee down towards the opposite big toe. And if you have a bunion, this might be a bit uncomfortable. You can put a blanket under your toes or another mat. So rather than side to side, the regular windshield wiper one, this one, the knees are facing up and one knee comes down while the other one stays up, and reach that knee towards the opposite big toe. It gets more into the thigh and groin. It's quite an interesting position. It's going to be really helpful for the hip and also the knee. Just notice where you feel that. You might be feeling it the front of the hip. If you do not have tight thighs, you might not be feeling this at all. You can go into full windshield wiper if you do not feel this at all. Just play with it as an option. I do a lot of cycling and walking, and this one really helps just access those thighs. Very helpful for knees. When you're ready, you can go into the full windshield wiper side to side. Now, this position, we've been playing with this term. If you want, you can play with doing it with the feet together rather than apart. And it's quite different energetically and physically. So this is how my teachers in India often teach this. And I rarely do it because I've been affected by how we teach it in the West. But I was reminded this trip that I should at least offer this as an option because it's just quite different. Energetically, it's very grounding. You might feel that sense of drawing into your center. So it has that grounding element. It works a different part of the hip and lower back. Just kind of play with that, see what you like, and then maybe bring your feet more apart. Just experiment what feels best in your body tonight. So it's just an option. It's hard to say which one is harder. I think they're just different. So inhale center, exhale side. Jatra Paravritti. So the yogis of old, this is from the Vedas about 4,000 years ago, they said there's this fire in the belly, perhaps our digestive enzymes, where the health of our gut, that we're twisting that now. And by doing that, they say you work with what's called samanavaya, you balance, you create this balance in this area of your body, which also has its own nervous system, the enteric nervous system. So you're working with that as well. You're soothing that major center of cognition in the body, right in the gut. So when you're ready, if you feel so inclined, you can stay on one side and just play with the position of your knees. So you could have them together, you can have them higher up, you can have them apart. So I'm going to let you just decide which version you want to do of this pose. The higher up that they are, the more it goes into the lower back, the lower it's more into the thigh and hip. So just decide which one you want to do according to what's going on in your body. I'm going to do the lower one for me. And in that position, just breathing, perhaps adding a little bit of movement. Inhale, adding a bit more twist, and exhale, release. Such a simple pose, very powerful. The classical, I saw one of you do it. You could have your legs straight. That is the classical. And going to the other side, if you like. So you can play with that. All those different positions or the legs apart. Classically, the palms are down and they're at shoulder height. Most of us think shoulder height is higher than it is. I always get corrected on that when I see my teachers. I was putting my arms down. So I'm going to also draw your attention to that. Your hands might be a little bit higher than shoulder height. And palms down feels quite different in the physical and energetic body than up. So just notice which one you prefer. When you're ready, you're going to release. Okay. We're going to go deeper into the hips now. Feel free to take a counter pose, knees to chest, if you want to take a little break. Otherwise, if you feel ready to go further, crossing your left knee over the right and arms at the sides. And you're going to inhale center and exhale. Take your legs to one side. So to your left, perhaps. Inhale center and exhale to your right. And just see how that feels in your lower back and hips. This one's definitely going a little bit more into the lower back. I know a lot of you do have some lower back stuff, so just weaving some of that into tonight's class. Just going side to side. Doing about 4 rounds left to right. Remembering to let the breath guide the movement. And when you're ready, switching sides. One tends to travel a bit, so you might need to recenter yourselves. So right over left, inhale center, exhale, come to your right. Inhale center, exhale left. And some of you might be feeling this quite a bit in the upper back, neck, and shoulders of the opposite side. So if it's too intense, don't go down as far. You can always have blocks or pillows as landing pads on each side. Or just don't go down as far with your legs. And after you've done about 4 rounds, just finishing up. Coming to the center. Let's just do our counter exhale, knees to chest. Inhale, legs up to the sky, arms overhead, flex the toes towards the nose. Let's just keep this very simple. Exhale, center, knees in. Just doing this 4 times as a counter pose. Keeping it pretty relaxed. That last one can be pretty intense for the lower back, so I just want you to relax for this one. And yes, you're welcome to hold, some of you holding just under the knees as a modification. You can just do that. So why it is actually nice to see you, because I get to see your choices and gives me some ideas of what you would like to do. That's a really good modification of this. Okay, we're going to start moving into external rotation now. We're doing quite a bit of internal. So we're going to inhale, we're going to open the hips and exhale, close. Now, when you close, you're going to use the pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in, and draw the knees in. And when I do this, I feel like I'm winding my knees together using my pelvic floor. So it's like a fishing line. You're winding the legs in, gradually drawing them in, using your pelvic floor and core strength. Inhale, adding the arms if you want. Supta Baddha Konasana. This is a classical pose. And then exhale, start to exhale. Get that lower back moving to the ground and then start to draw the legs in and feel like the core is pulling your legs together rather than your legs drawing your legs together, if that makes sense. Do this very slowly and mindfully. When you're opening, you're resisting that movement. And when you're closing, again, you're resisting that movement. You can also do this one hip at a time if you prefer as an option. You can inhale one arm, one leg, exhale, draw it in. This is a very different experience. You might want to actually just add this to feel the difference. And what I always find really surprising is my tight left hip. I can totally get it to the ground when I do one side at a time. So that can be very helpful. If you have one side that's kind of jammed, it can just give it that ease of movement by just allowing it to move without the other side that might be blocking it. And this one, if you've ever done EMDR, it always reminds me of EMDR, which is something that you can do with a counselor or psychologist for balancing the brain. So pick your medicine. I'm now doing one side at a time, or you can do both. This one is also said to be good for our reproductive health. And then if it's comfortable, you might want to stay in that open position for a few breaths. You might want to have your arms down by your sides because it's too intense. And you could also, if you've got blocks or pillows, you can put them underneath each hip where it's comfortable, or even holding the knees just to add a bit of support. And if it's not comfortable, you can keep it moving. Now, as you exhale in this position, draw your lower back into the ground. And feel the movement of the pelvis and the hips as you do that. Inhale, breathe into the chest and into the belly. Lock the chin if you can. Feel the hips open as you arch the back. Exhale as you tuck the tail under, pulling up from the pelvic floor to the belly button. Feel the lower back go into the floor. And again, this is working hips and lower back. So again, it might not be comfortable staying in that open position. You keep it moving, especially if there's arthritis in the hips. And just finishing up. Let's just bring the feet wide and angle those knees in. And just take a rest here for a moment in the opposite position of the hip. Just having the hands at the belly, that center of cognition at the gut. Just dropping your attention, your awareness into your belly. And just feel the rise and fall of the belly. You could put the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth. Just notice you feel any energy moving down your lower back, your legs into your feet. That energy is called apana vayu. You hear me talk about it a lot. It's that grounding downward energy. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of strength work. So we're going to work on the inner hips. So we're going to take, you can take one block or even two. I'm going to use two. You could put a belt around them. You could use a pillow. You could use a brick. So the hard block, any prop you want. I'm going to work a little harder tonight. Each one of these blocks that we get in British Columbia from Half Moon. I don't think you get them other places in the world. They're 1.5 pounds each and a fair amount of weight. If you put two, you can also use, if you have a ball that you want to press into, I sometimes do that, or a big bed pillow can feel really nice for what I'm about to do. So in this position, you're going to exhale, you're going to squeeze that block or those blocks or that pillow really hard, squeeze it as you exhale. And then inhale, release. And exhale, squeeze the block or the pillow. And inhale, release. I think I said the opposite. Exhale, squeeze the block. Pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in, squeeze the block, feel the feet. And inhale, release. Now, the next time you do it on that exhale, we're going to actually lift as we exhale. So one of the rules of yoga is we can exhale on the inhale movements if we want. So we're going to do that. So as we exhale, we're going to lift the hips off the ground and squeeze that block. And then inhale, lift a little bit higher with the hips. And go into bridge pose. And then exhale, squeeze the block and come down. So we're going to be moving on the exhale into the bridge. Just adjusting my blocks to comfort. You can do the same. Inhale in this position. And then as you exhale, squeeze the blocks and lift just the lower back off the ground, just the buttocks off the ground. And then inhale, lift higher now. And exhale, squeeze the blocks and come all the way down. So I'm dividing the bridge into two parts because there's two parts to the bridge. There's the buttocks part and then there's the upper back part. So inhale in the position, exhale, squeeze the block and you'll feel the pelvis tilt. You'll feel the tail tuck under and lift just the lower back and the hips off the ground. Squeezing into the center. Inhale, lift higher now, lifting into the chest. You can even breathe into the chest, into the belly. Now exhale, squeeze those blocks and gradually come down. Inhale in the position. Exhale, squeeze the blocks. Feel the tail tuck under and lift just the buttocks off the ground, the lower back. Inhale, lift higher now, breathing into the chest. Lift the hips higher if you can. Exhale, squeeze those blocks and gradually come down. One more time, inhale in the position. Exhale, squeeze the blocks, tuck the tail under, gradually lifts the hips off the ground. Inhale, lift higher still, breathing into the chest, into the belly. Press into those feet to lift higher still. Press into the feet. Exhale, squeeze the blocks. And gradually come down. And that's another one that's good for incontinence. Release those blocks. And just take a rest. Bring the feet apart, angle the knees in, just take a rest for a moment. And you might be feeling quite a bit of energy in the hip area, having done all of that. Okay, let's give the lower back a rest before we move on. So we're going to do that hip movement with the legs as we inhale, opening the knees, exhale, draw them together and knees into the chest. I'm going to do this without the hands like I did earlier. So it's a circular apanasana. Exhale, knees together, knees into the chest, using the core to move. Inhale, opening the hips, feet are together, and then draw the knees together as you exhale. So massaging the hips, working those first two chakras, the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, the pelvic floor region, the pubic region. So that second center of the hip area, reproductive area, is about emotions. And there's now medical evidence that that nervous system at the gut and into the hips, the digestive system, is definitely linked to mental health, emotional health. So we're really working those first three chakras, three energy centers. You can do the other way if you like for a few rounds. Okay. So we're going to do bridge now with the belt. I hope you have a belt, or you could have a paraband or a scarf. In India, they often use a scarf, a dupada. So anything you like. And if you have nothing, you can visualize it. So for this one, I want you to try to put your legs hip width or wider. So the wider you do it, you're going to see the more you're going to get into your groin area. I'm going to line my heels with my knees, and I'm going to inhale. I'm going to lift the hips up, press into the belt. And as you do this, you'll feel an opening in the groin, as well as probably your glute medius, those smaller glute muscles really working. And exhale, coming down, just that. So again, you can play with even wider feet, and the effect is even stronger. This also seems to really affect the SI joints, from what I've been able to figure out by playing with this. So if you've got some SI joint issues, this might also feel really good. So inhale up, pressing into that belt, exhale, coming down, and just play with the width and make sure it feels good for your body. You'll know, your body will say, no, I don't like that. And just adjust it until it feels good. If it's feeling very unstable for any reason, you can put a block between your legs as well as the belt, or just use the block if this is not working for you, or nothing. Inhale, lifting up, pressing into that belt. And exhale, coming down. Now, some of you have one leg that's longer than the other, one hip that's tighter than the other. You can also play with bringing one foot forward. And just see how that feels, and really press into those feet, press into the belt. You can switch sides to see which side you prefer, or maybe you just like being even. Very different sensation. You can really target a knee, one knee at a time by doing this. The foot that's closer to you, that knee, you're going to be working a little bit more strength-wise, the opposite hip stretching. So you can play with those variations. Now, the last one that I'm going to add, if you like, you can take a rest, or if you like, inhale, lift up. We're going to stay now. Exhale, stay. Inhale, come up onto your toes. Now lift your hips higher and get more engaging those glutes. This is the glute max. Really lifting high, engaging those glutes. Pressing out into the belt, you'll get into the little glute muscles more. And then exhale, just bring the heels down, or you could bring the whole back down. Inhale, lifting high. As high as you can. Exhale, just bring the heels down, or bring the whole buttocks down if you need a rest. Do that 2 more times. Now, when you're ready, gradually coming down. Remove the belt. Knees to chest. Inhale, legs up, arms up. Or you can leave the arms down or have them behind the knees. Exhale, knees to the chest. This is just to relax the back, relax the legs. You can always do one leg at a time if you're feeling strain in your back or in your leg. You can always do one leg at a time and then switch sides. And if you want to make it harder, you can also do that by extending your legs further away from you. And exhale, draw them in. that's a little less relaxing, more about strength work, so just be careful. All right, so I want to do a little bit more strength work on the hips. You're going to turn to one side. So I think I'm just going to cue the side I'm on because this one can get a bit confusing if I try to mirror. So on your right hip and your left hip on top. And you're going to straighten your top leg. And a lot of you know this from your personal practice. You're going to inhale, extend that top arm overhead along your ear and stretch that top leg away. And as you exhale, bring the leg up and the hand down by your hip. Inhale, extend and stretch long, and you can focus on decompressing that top hip as you bring your hands together, stretch away. And exhale, drawing in pelvic floor, lower belly, belly button in. And just keep this going. Now, the classical pose, just in case you want to know, is with both legs straight, but and your hand like this, and you're holding your big toe, but this is not really a strength pose. And well, it's not doing what I want to do. So you can do that if you want, but for what we're doing, this for me is very strengthening, and we're also working on decompressing that hip by stretching. Feel like someone's pulling that big toe away from you and your hands the opposite direction, and you might feel a lot of decompression through the hip, which can be very helpful as we age to basically decompress everything is what I'm learning. I don't know what you guys think, but that's my experience. Any chance to decompress joints, get some traction, usually feels pretty good. And when you're ready, you're just going to rest for a moment in side child's pose. And then you're going to switch sides. And you could just flip to the other side, but I'm going to face you, of course, so you can see me. So I just start in that side child position. Bottom arm stretched out. You could have a pillow under your head if this is not comfortable to have your arm like this for your shoulder. You could just have a pillow here. So just keep that in mind. You might want to modify further. And if it's comfortable, stretching that, top leg, there we go. You could keep both legs bent if that feels better for you. Inhale, bringing the hands together, stretching the leg away, the big toe away, your top leg away. So that's your inhale. Exhale, bring your leg up, your knee facing towards me and your hand on your thigh. And keep this going. Inhale, extend. Anantasana, this is called the sleeping Vishnu pose. And Ananta means balance, it means harmony. So I like this as an image, balancing the hips as creating balance in the mind emotions. This emotional center of the hips. The area of reproductive organs, of emotional regulation. Balancing the hips, balancing the emotions. And when you're ready, just finishing up. Doing that traction on the inhale and exhale, strengthening. And when you finish your last one, just drawing your knee in and resting as side child. Okay, and from here, we're going to go on to the belly. Said it wasn't going to work you hard, but oh well.
I think I'm working a little bit hard. Seems to be the phase that I'm in. All right, so I hope it's okay. One of you mentioned this to me in a private the other day, who's here tonight, and I was reminded of this pose, so I wanted to teach it. So lying on your belly, bringing your forehead down, you can fold your hands on top of each other and rest your forehead on your hands if that feels better, or put your forehead on a block or a blanket or on an eye pillow. Otherwise, hands can be just about shoulder height. You're going to tuck your toes under. And you're going to inhale, you're just going to straighten your knees. Seemingly very easy pose. Straighten your knees. And you're going to feel your knees really getting strengthened right now, but it's also getting into your hips and lower back. I don't know if you can feel that. So my knees are off the ground. I hope you can see that. And exhale, release. Hope you can see that. Inhale, my knees are coming off the ground as I straighten my legs. And exhale, release. Now, if your knees are weak, you'll feel it there. You might feel it in your hips and you might feel it in your lower back. It's working in those three areas. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, release. I've got my toes tucked under the whole time. This is the beginning of a back arch that we're not going to do tonight. We'll go into it during lower back stuff. Inhale, straighten. Now, maybe can you stay here and breathe? I'm keeping the knees off and I'm just breathing in the pose. It's the beginning of Shalabhasana. Okay, we are going to do the beginning of Shalabhasana. For this one, I am going to fold my hands and place my forehead on them. Inhale, lift one leg up at a time, or you can have your hands by your sides. Lift one leg up at a time. You can lift your forehead off the ground slightly. Exhale, release. This is strengthening the back of the hip. Inhale, bring the leg up. Bring the head up. Exhale, release. Just going side to side. Or you can leave the head down and just lift the legs, which is quite a nice way to do it, is just with the legs. So this is strengthening the hips and the lower back. Try it without the chest, and then you can add the chest a little bit. If you get migraines, really be careful to keep that chin tucked in. Don't crunch the neck, which is the classical, is looking straight ahead, but it can really, with people who get migraines, that can be quite problematic. And when you're ready, going into child's pose. Lean back. If this pose doesn't work for you, I know for some of you, if this doesn't work, just lie on your back and bring your knees to your chest, or lie down and put your feet at the wall. In this position. I know some of you remember this from in-person classes. My Iyengar teacher called this Supta frog. So I don't know what the Sanskrit is. I don't teach it in Chennai. And when you feel complete, just lie on your back and rest. Okay, we're going to do one final asana. before I let you completely rest, we're just going to stretch those legs because we've done a lot of hip work. I just want to stretch those legs. So you can hold underneath your knee like this, underneath your thigh rather, or you can use a belt, one leg at a time. And I like to make the belt big enough so my shoulders are on the ground. So inhale here, the other leg can be bent or straight. Exhale, bend the knee towards the chest. So as if you're doing a supine lunge, if that makes sense. So it's like you're lunging, but you're on your back. And I love this one for my hips and for my legs. Inhale, extend, exhale, bend. And that opposite foot, you can have it at the wall to use that for support. Press into. And the classical version of this is holding the big toe like this. Inhale, straighten, exhale, bend. So that's the classical version of this. Okay, we're going to go to the other side. Now straighten, exhale, bend. And noticing the opposite hip. And just finishing up, release, and just rest. For a minute. As you rest there, I'm going to chant Om Shanti for peace. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste. Namaskaram. Thank you very much.